California. Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get to in the world of Southern California sports. Such as the Chargers unfortunately suffered their first loss of the season. But they might have lost a lot more than the game. They lost a few key players. Can they and do they have a shot against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs? We'll see. Also, the Rams pulled off an improbable win over the San Francisco 49ers. That was such a huge win for the Rams. That might actually save this. How can they do the same thing against the Chicago Bears? We shall see. Also, USC lost a very winnable game against Michigan. LSU also took it to UCLA. Just a lot of bad luck around the college football realm. But on the baseball side of things, the Dodgers are NL West champions. And the Padres are also dancing, which is awesome sauce. The Angels, not so much, as they straight up embarrass themselves. What do I have to say about the Angels? It's not good. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, Saturday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 194 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Also, please subscribe to IE Sports Radio on YouTube. This show, as well as all of our other shows, are being streamed live on YouTube, courtesy of StreamYard, and we would greatly appreciate your support on YouTube and your subscription. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of October, and with your help, we can make that goal possible. Also, make sure to check us out on several different podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, JioSaavn, Podchaser. The list goes on and on. And also make sure to check out our website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our pages dedicated to each podcast, such as the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And make sure to check out our merchandise shop, where you can cop all of our IE Sports Radio t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, and other IE Sports Radio merchandise. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. The way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SoCal Show, IESR. And you can follow me personally, Teran Rodriguez, on X, formerly known as Twitter, which is where I'm mainly active, at Teran Rodriguez 1. Before we get on into the SoCal sports action, let's pay some bills and acknowledge our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. And let's also talk to y'all about what IE Sports Radio is all about. Let's do this.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out iesportsradio.com and also make sure to check out our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, because sports and jerky go hand in hand with one another. Also, make sure to check out Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Maybe you have a birthday party coming up. Maybe you have a wedding coming up, all that sort of thing. You definitely want to check out Cecilia B and what she's cooked up in terms of Seal the Deal Wax Seals. But let's get on into the SoCal sports action. We only have about maybe an hour-ish, maybe close to that. So we're going to try to go along as fast as possible. So let's start off with the NFL because NFL is king. And let's start off with the Chargers. Unfortunately, I'm not wearing my Chargers jersey or anything Chargers related. It is what it is. Chargers unfortunately suffered their first loss of the season, losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers 20-10. Okay, let's rip the Band-Aid off from this one. Okay, the Chargers didn't look bad to start. They actually started off pretty good. Both teams went 3-and-out in their first 2 drives, and then eventually the Chargers were able to nibble away at the Steelers' defense, and eventually Quentin Johnston found the end zone for 6. So that gives Quentin Johnston 3 touchdowns this season, and if you remember, last year he had 2 touchdowns his entire rookie year. So he's already surpassed his touchdown total from last year. So it was 7-0 Chargers. That, unfortunately, football is played as a 4-quarter sport, and the Steelers kind of woke up as Justin Fields really got it going. I will never, ever, ever to this day understand why the Chicago Bears got rid of Justin Fields. He doesn't look broken to me. It's just that the Bears probably just are stupid. Anyway, so the Bears tied it up at 7-7. The Chargers eventually got a field goal to put themselves up 10-7, which was the halftime score. So everything was going hunky-dory, even though Joey Bosa did leave the game. But then the third quarter came, and oh, what a forgettable quarter that was. So I think it was the Steelers kicking a field goal, eventually got a field goal. And then I think it was on the Chargers' first drive of the third quarter or in the second half, Justin Herbert re-aggravated his ankle injury. So he did have an ankle injury, but he, blessed his heart, he was able to play through it for the most part. But unfortunately, I think it was Cam Hayward got to him, and someone stepped on his ankle unintentionally, and that's when Justin Herbert just could not stay in. He just could not continue, and I felt really bad for him. So I'm blaming the Carolina Panthers because why the heck not? But he just could not continue, and I felt really sad, obviously, because Taylor Heineke unfortunately could not fare any better, and sadly, dude got pretty much owned by TJ Watt. So it's unfortunate that, and the Chargers offense pretty much went down the toilet. That Steelers defense is certainly no joke. The Steelers defense held the Chargers to -5 yards. -5 yards. That's how bad. Okay, I wouldn't say the Chargers offense was bad, but they were just stuck in quicksand the entire second half. It's that they were that good. So I think this loss, it was closer than the final score indicates, 20-10, but it was 10-10 going into the final quarter. Unfortunately, the Chargers just basically had everything go incorrectly when Justin Herbert went out. And it also doesn't help that Joey Bosa was hurt, which really kind of sunk their ship. And Joe Alt kind of got rolled up, and now he's doubtful for this week. And Rashawn Slater also got hurt. So just when we all thought things were going great for the Chargers, this game against the Steelers kind of puts things in a very bad perspective. So Chargers suffer their first loss. They're 2-1. Again, that Steelers team is a good team, if I'm being realistically. So I don't think the Chargers have to hang their heads too much. But now this is where the Week 5 bye actually is a good thing. You know, I've been harping saying the Week 5 bye is such a bad thing. I hate it. 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 But now the Week 5 bye is looking like a real good thing, because after this week when the Chargers play Kansas City, they will have a nice Week 5 rest, and hopefully they can get back Joey Bosa. Doesn't look like none of their guys are going to be on IR. So Joey Bosa is out this week. Rashawn Slater is out this week. Joe Alt is doubtful, and Justin Herbert is questionable. But honestly, Justin Herbert is going to play. I can assure it. Like, the dude could probably get attacked by a pack of hyenas, and the dude would still play. So the dude has a lot of heart, and he says he wants to give it all he's got, and if he feels good enough to play, then he'll play. Honestly, I would prefer a not 100% Justin Herbert that is willing to go, other than a Taylor Heineke that is going to be making his first start since last season. Nothing against Taylor Heineke, and I'm glad the Chargers got him, and they're not going to play Easton Stick, but you want to go with the best option that'll help you win games. And Taylor Heineke would get literally bowled over by TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and all those other talented guys. So it is what it is for the Chargers, and they're just going to have to bounce back, or hope to try to bounce back against the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs are undefeated. All their games have been decided by one score. They beat the Ravens by 6. Or was it by I know, I think it was by 7, 27-20. They beat the Bengals by 3, and then they beat the Falcons just recently, I think by like 7 or 8. Either way, they've all been one-score games, and they've all had some sort of controversy and whatnot, but it's not easy to be an official. So there you go. So this begs the question, do the Chargers have any chances at beating the Chiefs in week 4? Obviously, they have a chance as long as Justin Herbert plays, but that O-line is really not going to do Herbert any favors. I mean, the reason why the Chargers went after Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater is because they needed to protect their franchise quarterback. Now with those two out, or with Joe Alt looking extremely doubtful, I just don't know how the Chargers win. I mean, Justin Herbert doesn't have the elusiveness. The only way I see the Chargers winning is if they have long drives that eat up so much clock, and then the defense, without Joey Bosa, mind you, comes to play and really makes Patrick Mahomes' life a living nightmare. And knowing the Chargers' luck, they're probably going to lose because of some BS from the officials. Nothing against the officials or anything, but every game it's just been Chiefs aren't playing to their expectations. Chiefs start to wake up. And then eventually Chiefs wind up winning because of some controversy and whatnot. So that's just how I see Chiefs games this season, but I digress. All right, so my final score prediction for this is going to be Chiefs 24, Chargers 20. Look, I got to be realistic. Justin Herbert can only do so much. I think the run game will be better because I don't think the Chargers are ever going to see a physical defense like the Steelers until maybe they face the Ravens, or I'm trying to think of another defense the Chargers might face. Maybe the Browns if they get Myles Garrett back. The Raiders in Week 18, barring they don't want to just throw in the towel already, but I don't know. But I just have the Chargers losing this one, and I think it's going to be close. When it comes to the Chargers, they always give the Chiefs a run for their money, except for the first time last year when the Chargers just straight up got owned. But it is what it is. But I just think that this is going to be a game the Chargers just don't win. And again, it's no disrespect to the Chargers. I think everyone and their moms would like to see the Chargers pull out the win, but it's not going to happen. I just don't see it happening. So Chargers will lose probably in close fashion. If they lose by one score, that's fine. If they lose by more than one score, then so be it. I mean, I would be rather happy with the Chargers losing by one score. Obviously, I'd be happy with a win altogether. I think the entire world would love to see the Chargers shock the world and beat the Chiefs, but it just doesn't seem possible. All right, but that's that for the Chargers side of things. Yeah, I don't like being negative toward my team, but I just don't see a scenario where the Chargers pull out a win. But thankfully, they have the Week 5 bye, and thankfully, they won't have to go from coast to coast. So there you have it. All right, jumping over to the Rams. The Rams stunned the Niners in very, very fun fashion. They beat the Niners 27-24. They managed to win it off a go-ahead field goal from Josh Carty. Yes, the rookie kicker from Stanford, who was an All-American, came up clutch for the Rams. And thank God the Rams have a kicker, unlike last year. Now, this one, I was very skeptical when it came to this game, just because both teams were pretty much having most of their players out for this game. No Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, along with Christian McCaffrey for the Niners. No Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp for the Rams. None of that sort of thing. No offensive line, or a majority of the offensive line for the Rams. No Darius Leonard for the Rams, and so on and so forth. This was basically an injury bowl. So for the Rams to pull off this win, it was so incredible. Kyren Williams was a hero. Tutu Atwell was a hero. Demarcus Robinson played okay in my book, but I think Kyren Williams was just a big-time hero, and I cannot be more proud of how amazing he did. Now, if the Rams had lost that one, I think they would have been in major jeopardy, because the last team to go 0-3 and make the postseason were the 2000 18 Houston Texans, which rattled off 9 straight, which I don't think the Rams could have done that. But let's be honest, they were 3-6 at one point, and then I think they rattled off, I think it was 9 straight wins. Oh no, not 9 straight wins, but I think it was like 6 straight wins. Either way, they wound up making the playoffs, as we all know. I think that it was somewhere along that ballpark where their only loss following the 3-6 start was to the Baltimore Ravens, which was nowhere near a bad loss, especially since it was in overtime and it was on the road. But honestly, the Rams needed this win in the biggest way. And honestly, I'll give myself the benefit of the doubt, and I'll give myself I'll basically just say it. I was wrong. I thought the Rams were going to lose this one, but man, that was such a big win for the Niners, especially since the Niners have had the Rams number all throughout the entirety of the regular season. Not the postseason, though. But when it truly mattered, when the starters were playing, the Rams just struggled against those Niners. But the Niners, this time around, they just did not have the number for the Rams. And I feel bad for Niners fans, except I don't. The Rams needed this one. The Rams are going to continue to try to ride this hype train to the end, hopefully to see them make the postseason. It was a great win. It was so awesome. So now my big thing is, can the Rams build off this win and carry it into week 4 against the Chicago Bears? So next game for the Rams is tomorrow when they hit the road to the Windy City to take on the Bears. My thing is, they can't get all high and mighty. They think everything will be sweet because they beat the Niners. Well, they didn't play their full team. If they had Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey, it might have been a whole different result. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. I digress. But the Bears, they've obviously been struggling. Caleb Williams, everyone's favorite USC quarterback that came from Oklahoma, he hasn't been all that's cracked up to be. So the Rams definitely need to pounce on this opportunity, just because ever since the Bears wound up stumbling their way into a victory in week 1, they have lost 2 straight. The Rams need this victory so badly. I really want to see them go to Chicago and beat Caleb Williams and the Bears, because if they go into Green Bay with 2 straight wins, that's going to make things a whole lot better, because they have the week 6 bye where most of their guys could and should be coming back, but it's no guarantee. But this week, it's all about the Bears. The way they could beat the way the Rams could beat the Bears and get back to 500, getting pressure on Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has been erratic. Obviously, he hasn't had his top receiver in Keenan Allen, the former Charger. But honestly, I really think, and Keenan Allen's probably going to be playing. Like, it looks like most of the weapons that Caleb Williams got from the offseason, I think will be playing. But my thing is for Caleb Williams is, if the Rams can get pressure on him, I think that could really throw a wrench into his plans. And I think, and as long as, and Tre'Davious White, if he's going to be covering Keenan Allen, as much as I love the guy back when he was a Charger, he just isn't as shifty as he was back in the day. Now, he can still run the routes, but still, I just don't think he's the route runner he was back when he was with the Chargers. But maybe I'm wrong. All right, but my final score prediction for Rams-Bears. Rams will win 24-17. This is one of those games where I think the Rams are going to have to grind this one out. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring. Heck, maybe I can go a little bit further down and say like maybe 20-13 in favor of the Rams. But I think the Rams can pull out the win. They need this win in the worst way. And getting a nice road victory, even though last week felt like they were on the road, getting a nice win traditionally and truly on the road would be so big for the Rams. If they can get a win on the road going into that week 5 game against Green Bay, it makes things a whole lot better, especially since they might not have to face Jordan Love. But in all honesty, I think the Rams can do it. I really think they can. I really think they have a good shot, as long as they don't allow the run game, who's their running? I think the Bears running back is DeAndre Swift. As long as they slow down the Bears run game and they get to Caleb early and often, I think they can win this one fairly easily. But that Bears defense is pretty good. So the offensive line, or whatever is left of it, is going to have to do their part to protect Matthew Stafford at all costs. But we shall see what happens. I really think this is going to be a fun game. I think it might be one of the more crucial games for both these 1 and 2 teams, because both these teams are in tough divisions. The Niners, or not the Niners, the Rams are in a division where the Niners, even though they are shaken, they're not stirred. And believe it or not, the Seahawks are leading that division. And then the Bears are obviously in a tough division with the Vikings that are red hot, the Packers that should be getting Jordan Love back soon. And then you also got the Lions, which are arguably one of the best teams in the NFC. So Rams have got to get their you-know-what together and fast before the schedule really picks up and they don't have their best players for the remainder of the season. So I think this is a good score to predict. Rams 24, Bears 17. But that's just me. All right, but that's going to do it for the NFL portion of the show. We're going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we've got some college football to discuss. I will be recapping the USC win over Wisconsin, as well as their loss against Michigan. And then I'll be recapping some MLB. And then we've got our Dum Dum of the Week. Keep it locked here. You were listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pop culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
And welcome back to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as the Sports Couple Perspective and the Neutral Zone, which will be making its return this upcoming Tuesday. They were going to make their return last week, or this week, but unfortunately it was to no avail, but it's all good. All right, so let's get back on into the SoCal sports side of things. So we're going to be discussing a little bit of some college football, but it's not just going to be USC, because obviously I got the USC hat, and we're going to be celebrating that USC victory, baby. But we also got to rip the Band-Aid off from last week, as USC lost a close one to Michigan last week. And oh my God, USC could have used this victory. They lost, I don't remember, it was like 27-23. But it was just a frustrating game. Like I'm so mad. I couldn't even tell you how mad I was about that. As Larry B popped into the chat room, he says, "Fight on, USC." Yes, fight on. They played like crap, but a win is a win. And he says he loves that. Oh, thank you, Larry. I appreciate you. But let's go circle the wagons back to USC's loss against Michigan. Look, playing at Michigan is so tough. But you want to know what is tough? Playing Michigan and another team, or playing two teams in general. Look, I get it. It's not easy to be an official, but the amount of holding calls that USC were not getting or against Michigan, and the amount of holding calls that Michigan was getting against SC was sickening. The officials also missed a face mask penalty on Michigan, which I think is just BS. Look, I will never, ever, ever bash an official just because it's so tough to be an official, whether it's coaching or whether it's officiating college football, high school football, NFL, or even AYSO. But honestly, you just can't do that because this kind of raises the eyebrows of, does Michigan have home cooking and whatnot? It's just so terrible, dude. And it's just so frustrating because USC had this game, but it should have never come down to that. You want to know what else didn't help USC's argument? The fact that they gave up rushing yard, big run after big run after big run. It was frustrating, dude. Like, all USC needed to do was stop the freaking run. All they needed to do was that. If they did, they would slow down Michigan. Michigan would have no offense because Michigan has, if you saw Michigan last year, they had no assembly of a passing offense. They don't have, even with J.J. McCarthy under center, like USC would have had no problems in terms of like dealing. Because looking at the passing yards, the quarterback for Michigan was 7 for freaking 12. 7 for 12. That's all USC need to do. Take away the running game. I don't care if they didn't have Bear Alexander or not. That's all USC needed to do. Stop the freaking run. Unfortunately, they just could not do that. And it just really made me mad. It's like, come on, USC. Every USC fan knew Michigan was going to run or at least have a dump-off pass. But either way, it was just bad, dude. They made Michigan look like last year's Michigan team. And eventually Michigan got the go-ahead touchdown, which was on a running play, as Khalil Mullings was the one that jammed it down USC's throat quite a bit. He had 159 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. It was just sickening, dude. And I'm sorry. I know USC. And you know what else didn't help? The fact that Miller Moss practically got treated like a rag doll. Dude was under duress throughout most of the game because his O-line just did not do him any favors. And the dude still threw for 3 touchdowns, and he had almost 300 passing yards. Unfortunately, the dude had a pick 6, which did not help matters, and he also fumbled the ball, I think, in the red zone, which also cost USC quite a bit. I will give credit to the defense in the second half. They looked pretty okay, if you ask me. They obviously forced a fumble, but the run defense really needs to step up better. They're not freaking the Chargers, who have the worst run defense in college football. No, USC definitely could have won last week, and whether it was because their run defense was horrible, whether their offensive line did Miller Moss no favors, or anything of that sort, I just really think that USC had a chance to freaking win this game, and now they basically coughed it up. It really frustrates me as an SC fan. And I'm not mad that they lost. I'm just mad at the way that they lost, because obviously Michigan's a good team at home. And this was USC's first ever Big Ten game. It was also their first traditional road game, because if you remember, the first game was in Allegiant Stadium, which was a neutral site game. And then the second game was against Utah State at the Coliseum. This was their first true road game. So, yeah, talk about, this was supposed to be baptism by fire, not death by fire. And unfortunately, USC got burned big time. It really just made me mad. I just really wish I could have worn this hat last week, or I could be wearing this hat super proudly. But I feel USC kind of underestimated Michigan, just because everyone thinks Michigan is not going to be good because, well, they lost practically everyone and everything to the NFL or graduation, et cetera. But I think Michigan is still kind of up there. They're not going to be on the level of Ohio State and Oregon, but they're still going to be up there. I just think that USC just kind of got burned in that baptism by fire. But it is what it is, and honestly, I can't get too mad at SC. At least they didn't get blown out. Because the first half, they looked dreadful. And this was kind of on Lincoln Riley when it came to his horrendous play calling. Like, come on, dude. Like, think outside the box. Lord have mercy. So, the good news is for SC, they managed to win today as they took down Wisconsin 38-21. But this game was just as ugly as the game against Michigan. It took a comeback for SC to pull out the win. They are actually down 21-10 at halftime. Keep in mind, this was a sold-out crowd. This was a sold-out crowd because this was USC's first ever Big Ten game. And USC looked really bad. I was looking at the halftime score, and I'm like, USC cannot look this bad. In front of a sold-out crowd, at home, they cannot look bad against an unranked Wisconsin team. Fortunately for USC, their offense got it going. Their defense really stepped up. They pitched a shutout in the second half. They even got a pick six, which I think was pretty cool. And Miller Moss was him. He had 3 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception, but that was in the first half. He also had a 308 passing yards, which I thought was good. He also had a rushing touchdown. So say what you want about Miller Moss. Dude may not be as consistent as some of the other quarterbacks in the nation, but he still is a great quarterback. I think he's done an outstanding job, and I respect all that he's done when it comes to USC. And he's definitely earned the starting spot for this USC team following the graduation of Caleb Williams. And he makes me wear this USC hat so proud. So I just love me my Miller Moss, and I hope USC's O-line can actually keep him alive and not get him beaten up like they did against Michigan. But I digress. But I will say USC's run defense needs work. They gave up 2 rushing touchdowns, which, why? Why do you got to do this, USC? They made Tawee Walker look like freaking Marshawn Lynch. But I digress. So thankfully USC was able to get things going. Once they got their offense going, and once the defense did its job, that's when they took away the run game. Because once you're down pretty much big, you can't really run the ball all that much. I mean, you can, but you're going to be chewing up clock. But that's pretty much that for USC. I'm happy they won, even though, as Larry B pointed out in the comment section, they played like crap. It shouldn't really take a comeback to beat Wisconsin. And that's not disrespecting Wisconsin all that much. But for real, dude, like, come on. That's sad, dude. The fact that you need to pitch a shutout when you're down 11 at halftime. Like, USC is much better than that. And I know Bear Alexander is going to be redshirting this year. I get it. But honestly, USC has all sorts of other talent. stepping up. So at least it's a win, though. I mean, USC can be happy to go into Victory Sunday with a win. So USC's next game will be at Minnesota on the 5th. So, look, Minnesota, they actually, just like USC, they barely lost to Michigan. They lost by 3. And they're 2-3 in overall and 0-2 in conference play. My thing is for USC, Minnesota can be a little bit of a tricky opponent. This could be one of those trap games for SC, and they could find themselves in a world of hurt if, for some weird reason, they underestimate Minnesota like Michigan almost did. And again, when I mentioned trap game, the following week, USC hosts Penn State, which they've got Illinois. And I just recently saw a video on Penn State being the same exact team again and again and again. But it is what it is, and all that matters is Minnesota, and I really hope USC steps up. All right, but that's going to do it for USC. They're the only thing that is positive when it comes to college football in Southern California, other than the 3C2A. So I will just say I'm happy that USC managed to win that game, and I hope that they can continue to win just because reasons. I don't like seeing USC lose, because if USC loses, I got to bank on the Chargers to win, and I can't do that on a weekly basis. Because when USC lost to Michigan, I'm like, well, Chargers have to save my weekend from being crappy in football. It didn't happen. So there's that right there. So jumping over to San Diego State, I can't with San Diego State anymore. I can't. San Diego State had a chance to win today. They played Central Washington, and they wound up losing 22-21. The fact that San Diego State wound up scoring 21 points is a miracle. But the fact that they straight up lost is sickening to my core. But it's not them losing is what makes me mad. It's how they lost, ladies and gentlemen. So strap yourselves in, as I am about to unleash on San Diego State. They really, really, really made me mad today, and for good reason. So, yeah, like I said, San Diego State, they look pretty good offensively. It looked like they actually had some assembly of an offense, because other than their Texas A&M Commerce game, they put up a whopping 10 points in their other 2 games against Oregon State and Cal. 10 points. Then this time against Central Michigan, they were looking pretty good. They were looking pretty solid. It looked like they actually had a offense which was good, but all good things come to an end when it comes to San Diego State football, as they just couldn't keep the lead. So San Diego State was actually up 21-13 going into halftime. Everything was going great. Danny O'Neal, he had 2 passing touchdowns. They also got a good run game going. This was looking quite nice. Marquez Cooper had himself a nice game. He had 1 rushing touchdown, 111 yards. Like I said, Danny O'Neal, he didn't throw a pick. He had 2 passing touchdowns. So San Diego State, they're up 21-13. Everything's looking good. Third quarter, Central Michigan, if I said Eastern Michigan, I apologize, but Central Michigan, they managed to get a touchdown off of a 1-yard run, but the 2-point conversion failed. So at least San Diego State's defense is still holding strong. And then San Diego State is still maintaining the lead. The defense is coming up big, but their offense is becoming milquetoast again. So it's late in the game, and San Diego State has the ball, and they're pretty much in field goal range, and a field goal pretty much gives them a 5-point lead. Currently, they're up 21-19, but to my dismay, San Diego State misses the field goal. What kind of San Diego Chargers crap are you pulling, San Diego State? And then we all know how the game ends. Central Michigan gets the go-ahead field goal, and it was a 46-yarder, mind you. and then San Diego State lost. What the heck, dude? San Diego State makes me sick to my stomach. They finally have some assembly of an offense, and what do? They poop the bed. Can we relegate them to the FCS? This is just baloney sausage. I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. I was looking at this game like San Diego State has a chance to win. I get to talk positively about them. No, they don't. They missed a field goal, which was basically how the Niners lost. They missed a field goal, which could have put the game out of reach against the Rams. And then eventually the Rams marched down the field, wound up getting the go-ahead field goal and winning. Same thing for Central Michigan. San Diego State, I'm so sad at your loss. It just... I get it. It was on the road, but you had a chance. You had a freaking chance to hand Central Michigan their first loss at home. But what do? You poop the bed because your offense failed to show up in the second half. I'm sorry, but this is just unacceptable. It's so saddening, but it's so funny. It's like, bring back Rocky Long. I want to go to Syracuse, steal Rocky Long, and get him back to coaching San Diego State. He's the only man that could save the Aztecs from this debauchery, dude. And next week, San Diego State kicks off their true season when they open up Mountain West Conference play against... Oh, I'm sorry. They play Hawaii in Mountain West Conference play. They already kicked off Mountain West Conference play against Oregon State. I keep forgetting Oregon State is now in the Mountain West Conference, as well as Washington State, and the Pac-12 is dead. But I will say, this Hawaii game, thankfully for San Diego State, they're not playing in Hawaii. If they were playing in Hawaii, I guarantee you San Diego State would not win that game. But I really don't know what to expect from this Hawaii team. I think San Diego State will win, but honestly, I don't even feel like giving a score when it comes to San Diego State. Anyway, so that's going to do it when it comes to San Diego State. Jumping over to UCLA, I'm not even going to change the color. UCLA wound up losing to number 17 LSU, 34-17. So this game was actually closer than expected, or at least in the first half it was. It was actually 17-17, and I'm thinking, LSU's actually having a tough time. And I was under the impression LSU was broken by what USC did to them in week 1. But LSU unfortunately woke up. Garrett Nussmeier was fantastic for the Tigers, and UCLA just could not get anything going. And that's the sad and disappointing thing when it comes to UCLA. They just don't have the offense to keep up with some of these big time teams. And it also doesn't help that LSU is actually playing a home team against a Southern California team, which, yeah, that's rough. If only UCLA played at Allegiant Stadium and not USC, but it is what it is. And UCLA wound up losing, and they got shut out in the second half. And I just feel bad for UCLA in a sense. At least they look better than they did against Indiana. Indiana, they were pretty much clowned at home. They were pretty much pantsed at home. And there's no better way to say that. As this week or tonight, UCLA is back at the Rose Bowl taking on Oregon. And like I said, UCLA's schedule gets so tough. Well, it has gotten tough following the Indiana game. They had LSU. They've got Oregon, which is number 8. There's no way UCLA wins that one. I don't care if it's at the Rose Bowl. UCLA will not beat Oregon. If they beat Oregon, I will eat all of the crow in the world, and I will buy me a UCLA hat. Kind of like this one, except maybe new era. But they won't beat Oregon. I don't see them going to Happy Valley and beating Penn State, even though Penn State is pretty much a copy-paste team. Minnesota, they might win that one just because Minnesota, they're kind of in that meh territory. Rutgers, that's a tough one just because it's at Rutgers and they're actually 4-0, even though Rutgers hasn't beaten a team that's been eye-popping. And no, Princeton doesn't count. I mean, they haven't played Princeton, or they won't play Princeton, but I digress. Nebraska, like I said, that's another tough team. Iowa, that can be winnable, but honestly, that defense of theirs is pretty good, and they actually know how to score the ball. They actually know how to score more than 20 points. And in Washington, that could also be a tough game, even though Washington just lost to Rutgers, which used to be known as the Queensmen, but I digress. And then USC, we all know that USC is probably going to win that one, most likely. And then Fresno State, I mean, I could see them winning that one, considering Fresno State got the brakes beaten off them against UNLV, which has more problems than a trigonometry book, but I digress. All right, but that's that for UCLA football. San Diego, unfortunately, lost today as well, as they lost to North Dakota last week, 41-24. I was extremely generous when I said San Diego was going to lose by one score. They got the brakes beaten off them. San Diego actually was, I think they led throughout most of the first half, and then North Dakota responded with 21 unanswered points, and it was just tough sledding for the Toreros. And then this week they lost 30-28 against Drake. Now, the North Dakota loss is a little bit acceptable just because North Dakota that was actually their first away game. It didn't help that San Diego played their first two games at Torero Stadium. This time around, they lost to they lost to Drake, which was kind of 1-1. So I don't know. I think San Diego could have prevented this loss. I actually would have picked Drake to win. Oh, I'm sorry, not Drake to win. San Diego to win if I did the show yesterday. I do apologize for missing yesterday's show, but yeah, I just think that San Diego they're not a good road team. That's all I got to say. This one felt winnable, though. So San Diego lost to North Dakota and Drake this week. Well, they lost to North Dakota last week, but they lost to Drake this week. So anyway, that's basically going to do it for the college football portion of the show. We're going to take ourselves one last commercial break. When we come back, we will discuss a little bit of some MLB, and then we will discuss the Dum Dum of the Week. Keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We will be right back after this.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., and I'm welcoming you to take another lap with the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. Yes, this is the Extra Mile with me and my co-hosts Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward. We talk everything racing from NASCAR to IndyCar to Formula One to limited hydroplanes, endurance racing, the NHRA, and more. So come join us for an hour of great racing talk and a lot of fun as well on the Extra Mile, Thursdays at 8 p.m. only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we are back with the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. About 10 or so minutes before I pass it over to Mike Pat with Let's Whine About DMV Sports. So we're going to talk a little bit of some MLB. So as we all know, the elephant in the room is the Dodgers wound up winning the NL West as they took 2 out of 3 against the San Diego Padres this past week. So good for them. And they are inching ever so close to claiming the top spot in the National League. But for the love of all that is holy, please, 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 Dodgers, have a deeper playoff run. No more of these one and dones or first round exits or divisional round exits. I guess it's getting ridiculously old. Like, please have a longer playoff run. I beg of you, Dodgers, please. But it is great that they wound up winning the NL West for the 11th time in 12 years. Thanks, Giants, for not allowing us to win it for the 12th straight year. But I digress. So great job to the Dodgers. I'm hoping they get as healthy as possible. They need all the pitching help that they can get. Otherwise, they are screwed for the postseason. It is going to be tough sledding for them when it comes postseason time. But honestly, I'm still confident in them. They close out the regular season against those Colorado Rockies. So we'll see what they can do. Speaking of, oh no, I was doing so great until this whole glitch thing happened. All right. Yeah. Anyway, so Dodgers aren't the only team that's going to be dancing. The Padres are going dancing too, as they wound up taking 1 out of 3 against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now you're probably thinking, well, 1 out of 3, Teran, why is that special? Well, that one game was enough for the Padres to make the postseason. And they wound up winning that game against the Dodgers on a triple play to end the game. And that was with Shohei Ohtani on deck. So the fact that the Padres beat the Dodgers at the Chavez Ravine was absolutely amazing. And the fact that they ended the game on a triple play is even more amazing. So good job to the Padres. That's very amazing. There were some times where I thought maybe the Padres wouldn't be able to make it, but honestly, the Padres were able to pull through. And you remember last year, the Padres, they finished the season strong at 82-80. Now they are over 500, well over 500 this year, and they are dancing, which I think is awesome sauce. So congratulations to the Padres on making the postseason. They pretty much clinched the top spot in the wild card. So it's all about who's going to be following suit with them, whether it's going to be the Mets, the Braves, and or the Diamondbacks. But we don't care for those other 3 teams because they're not SoCal. So congratulations to the Padres and a salute to them. I'd be interested to see if they play the Dodgers in the divisional round, but we'll see what happens. And then as for the Angels, I'm disappointed in the Angels. So the Angels made history in the worst way. They set a new record for the number of losses in program history. Congratulations, Angels. You made yourself look just as bad as the Chicago White Sox. But yeah, absolute clown show for the Angels. I'm just so disappointed. I gave them Dum Dum of the Week last week, so I can't really give it to them again. But man, the Dodgers or the Angels straight up suck. It's so sickening. I almost feel like vomiting all over the place. But yeah, USC or not USC. Angels, please do me a favor and free Mike Trout. Just trade Mike Trout for anything at this point. Trade him for prospects because you're literally just rotting him away. So there you have it with the Angels. The season is finally over. Well, it is going to be over as they close out the regular season or the season altogether when they take on the Texas Rangers. So thank God the Angels, we don't have to talk about the Angels anymore. This is straight up bologna sausage. All right, but that is that for the Angels portion of the show. Thank God I don't have to talk about the Angels anymore. So now we get on into the Dum Dum of the Week. So the Dum Dum of the Week is an award I like to give out to, which no one is safe from. You already know what it is. Nobody is safe from this award. I can give it to anyone or anything that I think of. And I got a few to give out to. So we got to start off with yours truly, me. So remember how, the Raiders are, or how should I say, yeah, Raiders aren't that good? Well, this kind of the first and second Dum Dum of the Week kind of go hand in hand with one another. So I promised that Larry B I would do this, but the Dum Dum of the Week, first Dum Dum of the Week, kind of has to go to the Raiders because the Raiders not only lost, the Raiders last year, or not last year, last week, the Raiders last week lost to, can we get a drum roll, please? The Raiders lost to the Carolina Panthers. I'm sorry. The Raiders lost to the Panthers. But they didn't lose to Bryce Young. They lost to Andy Dalton. Raiders, how could you? I picked y'all to freaking beat the Panthers. Then the Chargers beat the Panthers easily. Yes, maybe Bryce Young was the problem, but I still have faith in them. You lost to Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, a dude who hasn't had a 300 passing yard game since when he was in Cincinnati. And you made him become the first quarterback this season to have a 300-plus passing yard game with 3 touchdowns. I was singing praises that the Raiders defense was pretty elite, but elite my right cookus. How could you freaking do that, Raiders? And you want to know what's worse? Dum Dum Week number 2 is me for picking the Raiders to beat the Cleveland Browns this week in a Pick'ems league. I really thought the Raiders have a chance against the Browns. Why? Because the Browns have the most incompetent offense led by Deshaun Watson, who is stealing money. But you want to know what the Raiders don't have? They don't have Max Crosby, and they don't have Devontae Adams. And I thought it was a smart idea for me to pick the Raiders. Now, in my defense, I picked the Raiders on Thursday when doing my Pick'ems League. But I still should never trust the Raiders. As a Chargers fan, I should never, ever trust the Raiders. But I digress. But I also have one more Dum Dum of the Week. And this one kind of goes back to the Rams-Niners game. So I actually kind of knew this, but the Niners have on their coaching staff Brandon Staley as an assistant coach. The Niners have Brandon Staley on as an assistant coach. Now, I get it. Brandon Staley came from the Kyle Shanahan tree. But what I also will say is this. Why would you have him? Didn't you see his ridiculous stance with the Chargers? He is, okay, I will admit he's not the head coach, but you have him as an assistant coach? The Niners are crazy. Did you see what he did with the Chargers? I get it. The Chargers are bad luck. They're cursed, but I don't care. The dude was literally carried by Aaron Donald back when he was the Rams defensive coordinator. And you mean to tell me the Niners picked up the Chargers and Rams sloppy seconds and have them on their coaching staff? No wonder the Niners lost. But seriously, Niners, you made a massive mistake bringing on Brandon Staley. Maybe he'll turn the Niners around, maybe, and then maybe I'll look like a clown for knocking Brandon Staley and whatnot. But Niners, you should know this already. Brandon Staley was literally carried quite a bit, and the dude was a freaking Division III coach, then got his start. And then eventually, he was an assistant Division III coach, and then a Division III head coach, and then eventually a freaking assistant for the Bears, and then the Rams, and then he became the head coach of the Chargers, and now he's with the Niners. But still, if this blows up on the Niners and they eventually have to scrap him, all I will just do is laugh at the freaking Niners. I mean, I wish Brandon Staley, the human, nothing but the best, but Brandon Staley, the head coach, not really. So that's kind of my dumb week. Get out of here, freaking thing. But that's going to basically do it for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. We have to make way for Mike, Pat, and Let's Whine About DMV Sports. So for everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Honestly, I definitely appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm sorry if I couldn't go live yesterday. There was just a lot of home improvement going on next door. So, and I didn't want to give you all background noises of hammering and drilling and saws. So I definitely apologize. I try to give you all the best that I could give y'all, but I digress. So for everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Next up, we have Let's Whine About DMV Sports with Mike, Pat. Have yourself a great rest of the evening. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace. And as for SoCal, I'll probably do it on Friday at noon instead of 1 p.m. So it'll probably be another short show. So see you all next week. Have a great rest of the weekend.